My name is Angela Henderson and I'm going to talk about a project that I'm working on which looks at the use of psychotropic drugs for adults with learning disabilities. Psychotropic drugs are a group of drugs that affect people's mind, emotions or behaviour. These drugs can be used to help people with mental health problems. In this study, we looked at how these drugs are used for people with learning disabilities in Scotland. To do this, we analysed information that was collected by doctors and nurses. We have this information at 3 different times between 2004 and 2014. We wanted to find out if there had been any changes in the number of people who were prescribed these drugs over time. So why are we interested in this? Well, there has been concern that these drugs are used too often for people with learning disabilities, and a number of studies have reported that some drugs are used to manage the behaviour of some people with learning disabilities. So when we looked at the data, we found that at the beginning of the study, half of all the people who had agreed to take part were prescribed at least one psychotropic drug. However, only 37% of the population had a diagnosed mental health problem. When we looked at the type of drugs that people were being prescribed, we found that almost a quarter of the population were being prescribed an antipsychotic medication, but only 6% of the study population were assessed as having a psychotic illness. When we looked at information about drug prescribing from the same health board area in 2014, we found that there had been a decline in the number of adults with learning disabilities who were prescribed an antipsychotic medication, down from 24% in 2004 to 16% in 2014. However, to get a better understanding of the changes in prescribing practice, we also needed to look at this information for the same group of people at each point in time. So to do this, we linked the information we had across all time points for the same 368 people. This data showed a very different picture. We found that antipsychotic prescriptions for this group had actually increased slightly over time, from almost 21% in 2004 to 26% in 2014. We also found that the number of people who were prescribed antidepressants had risen a lot, from 11% of the population in 2004 to 24% of the population in 2014. So in summary, when we look at the whole population, the information we have shows that there has been a decline in the rate of prescribing of antipsychotic medication. However, if you follow the same group of people through time and look at the rates of prescribing for this group, the data shows an increase in the rate of antipsychotic prescribing and a very steep rise in the number of people taking antidepressants, as well as hypnotics and anxiolytics. These patterns suggest that the number of people who are newly given antipsychotic drugs by doctors is falling. However, in the case of people who are already taking antipsychotic medications, this group are unlikely to have their medications withdrawn. Further work needs to be undertaken to understand the factors associated with the steep rise in prescribing of antidepressants, but a similar pattern has been reported in general population studies. While psychotropic drugs can be really useful in helping people with mental health problems, they can also have serious side effects, and the use of these medications for people with learning disabilities needs to be carefully reviewed and monitored.